Let's dive into a classic story from the jungle. Now, you might think you know this kind of tale, but we're going to break down how this one brilliantly explores what happens when greed and grief collide, and the surprising power of empathy. And that really brings us to the core question of this entire story. What happens when someone's selfish greed is suddenly confronted by someone else's raw, unfiltered grief? It's all about what it takes to actually see the world through another's eyes. Keep that question in your head as we go. So at its heart, you've got these two worlds on a collision course. On one side, you have this simple, peaceful day for an elephant family. And on the other, you have the cold, calculated greed of a hunter who doesn't see a living being, he just sees a price tag. Okay, so let's set the scene. We've got Ramu, this majestic elephant, and his little son, Chotu. They're just having a normal day, walking through their home in the jungle. But they're not alone. There's a hunter in the shadows, watching them, and his eyes are locked right on Ramu. And this, right here, is all he's thinking. It's so simple and so cold. There's no real malice, it's just a financial calculation. This intense focus on the money completely blinds him to the life he's about to tear apart. In his mind, Ramu isn't a father. He's just a walking pile of cash. But this is where the story takes a little bit of a turn, and we get into something a bit more magical. As the elephants are wandering, they stumble upon something extraordinary. A mysterious cave that's about to become the key to this whole story. Chotu, being a curious little guy, tries to go inside, but he's stopped by this shimmering golden barrier. He can see this amazing light inside, but he can't get through. It's this place of incredible wonder, but it's totally sealed off by some kind of magic. A little later, a fairy appears and explains the rules of the cave to Chotu. And these rules are super specific. First, the cave is filled with magical cures. Second, these cures don't just work for anything. They only work when someone is in dire need. And here's the kicker, the most important rule of all. Only a human can get past that golden wall. All right, so while all this magic stuff is happening, the hunter is getting closer. He doesn't want to use a loud gun and scare everything off, so he comes up with a plan that's silent and incredibly cruel. So what does he do? He poisons a big pile of sugarcane, which, is like candy to an elephant, and he leaves it right where he knows Ramu will find it. And of course, Ramu has no idea. He just sees a tasty snack and walks right into the trap. As the poison starts to work and Ramu starts crying out in pain, this is the thought that goes through the hunter's mind. Now the fun will begin. He's feeling victorious. At this point, that blindness we talked about, it's absolute. His empathy is just gone. It's all about the prize. But this is the moment where the entire story just flips on its head. The hunter's feeling of triumph is about to be completely shattered by the sound of pure, heartbreaking grief. As little Chotu is crying over his father, who he thinks is dying, he wails out these words. He's not just sad about his dad being in pain. He's terrified of being left completely alone. And the hunter, he hears everything. And that's the moment it all changes. Those words just shatter the hunter's greed. He doesn't see a baby elephant anymore. He sees a child who's terrified of losing his parent. And that's a fear he understands all too well. He is so overcome with guilt that he comes out from his hiding spot and just confesses everything. See, his greed wasn't for fancy things. It came from a place of desperation. His own son is incredibly sick, and he also doesn't have a mother. He needed the money for medicine. In Chotu's tears, he literally saw his own son's face. So this confession just changes the entire game. The mission isn't about tusks anymore. Now it's a frantic race against the clock to fix this horrible mistake. Just when it seems like all hope is lost, the word miracle sparks something in Chotu's memory. He remembers the rules, the golden cave. The hunter is a human, and he is definitely in dire need. He's their only chance. So the hunter sprints to the cave, and just like the fairy said, the golden wall just lets him walk right through. Once inside, another fairy points him to a tree with a magical blue papaya. It's the antidote for the poison. He rushes back, gives the fruit to Ramu, and within minutes, the poison is just gone. Ramu gets back on his feet, totally healed. An act of pure selflessness, driven by a complete change of heart, has saved the day. And that's a fantastic moment, right? But wait, there's a huge question still hanging in the air. Ramu is okay, that's great. But the hunter's original problem, his son being sick and having no money, that's still there. Well, here's where the story's magic comes full circle. When the hunter was in the cave, he didn't just find the papaya. Lying there, right next to the tree, were two huge, perfect, shining diamonds. Way more than enough money to pay for his son's treatment. So what's the big takeaway here? Think about it. The hunter went looking for wealth through a cruel, greedy act, and all he found was guilt and pain. But when he acted selflessly, out of empathy, to save someone else's family, he was given the exact reward he was desperately looking for all along. It really makes you think, doesn't it? Maybe the best way to get what we need isn't by taking it, but by giving of ourselves first.